Conversation is on exactly where the Jubilee Party politics are headed. Now, we're still with Eric Mungai and Mr. Kigoli Edwin this morning. Let's take a look at this particular story as well, which essentially, again, gives us the raw emotions of where the Jubilee Party is and as regards their direction. Now, once we come back, then the question is going to be, is it true that indeed the Jubilee Party, led by one Uhuru Kenyatta, has no potential leader in it who can actually advance the direction of the party? Because as Mr. Kigoli Edwin is saying, that indeed the only reason you can form a party is to give it a strong leader who can deliver a promise, that is a leadership promise. Is it done, as Mr. Kigoli Edwin is talking about this morning? Let's take a look at this story.
A party divided in two, one faction that has defected to the Kenya Kwanza side and one willing to stick with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Former Kieni MP Kanini Kega, who is also the acting party secretary general, has said Monday's NDC will not be held. The debate on the NDC has been going on for a while, with the Kioni faction insisting that the Jubilee Party National Delegates Convention, convened by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, will go ahead as planned at the Ngong Racecourse after a change of venue following a letter from the Bomas of Kenya denying them space. A letter from the Bomas of Kenya Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager Gladys Kangede to the Jubilee Party Acting Executive Director Polycarp Hinga indicated that the venue was not available. In the letter, Kangede indicated that the main auditorium, which has a capacity of 2,000 people, was scheduled to undergo renovation works for 8 weeks from May 16th. On April 29th, the party leader, who is the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, called for the special meeting, which he said will be held on May 22nd, this coming Monday. In a notice signed by Kenyatta, the party said the agenda for the conference was to review, formulate and adopt party policies, receive a status report from the National Executive Committee, and consider and adopt any other business. However, in what is seen as an escalation of infighting in the former ruling party, a faction led by East African Legislative Assembly MP Kanini Kega last week suspended the NDC convened by Kenyatta.
We have only one Jubilee. There is no NDC on Monday, and this is a team that has been following the law. And we are just awaiting what the Registrar of Political Parties is going to forward by next week.
Kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta akufuata taratibu na mpangilio na sheria ya chama kuitisha mkutano huo. Kumaanisha mkutano utakayoitishwa Jumatatu ikifanyika itakuwa ni mkutano wa kisiasa, haitakuwa mkutano wa chama.
Earlier this month, the former president was ousted as Jubilee leader as infighting in the former ruling party escalated. The Kega-led faction of the party said former Muranga women representative Sabina Chege was the new acting leader following a National Executive Council meeting in Nairobi. The party has been rocked by leadership wrangles after Kanini Kega clashed with Kioni, the former ruling party secretary general. This is after the political party's disputes tribunal refused to set aside the NEC's decision to install Kega as the secretary general alongside others, but nullified registrar of political parties and Derito's letter recognizing them. In its ruling on April 16th, the court said the notice of the NEC meeting issued on February 2nd and the subsequent NEC meeting on February 10th that installed Kega were done in accordance with the party's constitution. Last month, the party was also ordered to vacate the premises it currently uses as its headquarters after factions of Kega and Kioni clashed. In a subsequent statement, the owner of the property ordered the party to leave the premises, claiming that they had breached the terms of the lease. Jeremiah Kioni, David Murade and the National Treasurer Kagwe Gishohi have been suspended by Kanini Kega's faction for what he said was their bad management of the party's organization affairs.
Mr. Kagwe Gishohi, the charged member was found guilty of all the 3 charges of A, gross misconduct, B, failing, refusing or neglecting to carry out directives, all instructions of the party, and C, lack of respect to the decisions of the party and organs of the party.
Brian Amoy, Look Up TV.
Mr. Mungai, let me first ask this question. Who is the leader of the Jubilee Party? Because the Registrar of Political Parties is watching, and probably has the same question. Could you tell me who's the leader of this party?
I'm really not sure whether you want to know the answer. But you know, the leader,
yes.
the leader of Jubilee Party now is Sabina Chege.
According to who?
That is the party leader. You know,
yes.
I have seen part of today's NDC, purported NDC. Today's purported NDC, part of their agenda is to review the minutes of the NEC meeting. Okay? Now, if this is the same NEC, whatever they are going to review, okay?
Yes.
Whatever
yes.
they are going to review. If that is the same NEC that had no quorum, you remember now, you see, as this story develops, you get different factions with different narratives. So this side says there was a NEC, which today they are going to ratify the decisions or debate them or whatever. But this other side says there was no quorum in that NEC
yes.
for them to be able to hold a NEC meeting. So in essence, what will they be ratifying in as far as that is concerned? Mm-hmm. But Edwin has raised a very important point. And I think it's time Uhuru knows that sometimes punching in the dark has no real results. And, you know, it's like when you're winking at a lady in a dark room. I mean, it is of no consequence. And Uhuru is a good friend of the former Prime Minister of Britain, Tony Blair. Good friends. And he should, in my opinion, he should emulate the character of that man. Because that man really did influence his policies while he was in government. And the man retired well. So my only question is, what is Uhuru's end game? Because in politics, you must have an end game. I mean, you're forming a political party so that that becomes a vehicle
yes.
that you can use to get into power.
Is it not clear from where you stated that he wants to leave an orderly house?
No. He does not.
Like it.
He does not want. You know, for those of us who worked with the previous regime, you know that the former president, in as much as we love him, he's also very vindictive. He doesn't let things slide. If you get in his way, he has a way of making sure that he gets even, which is not very good for a leader. And therefore, in my opinion, what he is doing right now, to me, is a bit derogatory in the nature and frame of a former president. He has his rights. It's not a legal issue. For me, it's not a legal issue. He has a right to do whatever he wants to do politically. But in my own opinion, I do not see where he's taking the Jubilee Party. I do not see the vision that he has for Jubilee Party, which he was unable to execute while he was in power. In fact, someone told me the other day that Uhuru has become a reformer
yes.
after he left power. We needed those reforms and good governance while he was in power. Now, what he should be busy doing is mentoring the people in the party, be they Kanini Kega, be they Sabina Chege.
Yes.
That should be his key role now, to make sure, because remember when they formed Jubilee Party, they had a vision. In fact, he used to articulate very well in rallies
yes.
that Jubilee would form subsequent governments.
Mr. Mgai, are you aware that within a political party, you have to stick to the agenda of the political party? The people you're mentioning there that you may wish for Uhuru Kenyatta to mentor, are they not advancing the agenda of the Kenya Kwanza government?
No. They are advancing.
One Sabina Chege, is she not advancing the agenda of the Kenya Kwanza government?
Not necessarily. You see, every party has, party is made up of membership, okay? And the membership, they have vested their decision-making to particular party organs,
yes.
which in this case, for Jubilee, is the NEC and the NDC. Now, the NEC has met, and after evaluating the progress of the Jubilee in terms of the number of members of parliament that they got, in terms of the status of the party politically, they have made a conscious decision to join the Kenya Kwanza government as a party. As a party. Therefore, it means that if they articulate any issues, they articulate issues on behalf of the party. Therefore, it is not a crime, neither is it against their party constitution for Kanini Kega and the entourage to articulate issues, even though they look like they are conforming to the issues of the Kenya Kwanza government.
Yes. When you have leaders from the other side of the political divide, I'm talking about Kenya Kwanza, saying that indeed we have welcomed those who do not feel at home at Jubilee to work with us, is that not, in quote unquote, in Political Parties Act, a defection, Mungai? Are we going to pretend that it's not a defection?
It's not a defection. You know, a defection is when a member comes out of the ranks of the party that has nominated them to a particular political seat, expresses views that are contrary to the decisions of his or her party.
Yes.
Now, in this case, and it's what I'm explaining, this faction, because let's call it a faction, because even this other one, the Uhuru team has been expelled. That's why I'm insisting. Sabina Chege is the party leader. and you see how laughable it is. As a former president, you know, there are some political battles, when you get to a certain extent, you must not fight.
Papa, who are we to tell Uhuru Kenyatta that when you get to a certain level, you shouldn't fight? Are we the moral police all of a sudden? Are we the status police?
No. Let me tell you something. You know, we've come with Uhuru from afar. Tumetoka mbali na Uhuru.
Yeah.
And you know, as a community, we started with Uhuru when, you remember the Hague issue, when they were going to the Hague. You remember the prayer rallies and the many prayers we made for them.
Yes.
And so as a community, we really sacrificed also a lot for our son. But you know, the most unfortunate thing, Simba, is that by the end of Uhuru's tenure, we had almost wiped out all the young leaders from Central. We were literally arresting them. We were literally chasing them with KRA. The prominent businessmen we were chasing, KRA was being set on them. And to us, it was very unfortunate to see a leader that we nurtured, a leader that we overwhelmingly voted for, almost extinguish the next leadership and the next generation. And that is why I'm insisting, Uhuru has nothing to offer Jubilee now. It is time for him to become a statesman. It is time for him to join the League of Global Leaders, for him to acquire that stately, you know, William needs guidance. He's never been president. It's time Uhuru held his hand and said, look, there are decisions you're about to make for a country, which I also tried as a president, and which did not work. Do not follow that path. Because we are all working towards building a better country. We are all working towards building the future for our children. But now when we see you, you have decided that you are not going to advise the president, and you have decided you're going to tussle and fight over a political party. To what end?
But with this tussle,